Well, good evening. And peace be with you. I like to say that to weed out all the good Catholics first. My name is Father Hayden, and I was a priest here in Natchez for 31 years. And over that time I had several titles: Rector, Vicar General, and Monsignor. Now, being born Irish isn't blessing enough. I was born in County Kilkenny in 1849 on March the 17th. Now, being born on March the 17th, there's only one thing they can name you: Patrick. In honor of the great saint himself for coming into the world on his feast day. Now, at the age of 19, I came to America, and I enrolled in seminary in Emmitsburg, Maryland, and 7 short years later, I was ordained a priest. Now, my first assignment was in Columbus, Mississippi, at a church there where I served as pastor for 12 years. Then the bishop called me here to Natchez to serve as a rector at the beautiful St. Mary Cathedral. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I became a priest in order to serve God, but I found that the duty that was nearest and dearest to my heart was reaching out to those on the fringe of society, those who are often forgotten about or neglected. Sometimes they're stepped over, and sadly, sometimes they're stepped on. Now, in Natchez, this included people of color, immigrants, and the wee ones, the orphans. Now, when I first got to Natchez, one of the people that was most kind to me was a woman by the name of Priscilla Claiborne. Mrs. Claiborne was a widow woman who was a housekeeper at the rectory of the church. Now, this woman served the church for 32 years, taking care of all the priests and bishops that came through Natchez. When she passed away, this motherly soul, in 1915, I knew that it was my solemn duty to give her a proper send-off. And so she became the first person of her race to have a funeral at the cathedral, despite the protest of many that objected that a mass was being said for a black woman there. Now, another group that merited my attention were the brave Italian immigrants that worked the fields out north of Natchez in Morgantown. These good people were being manipulated and abused as sharecroppers until they were taken under the wing of the people of St. Mary. I myself, using my own personal money, built them a church, the Assumption of the Blessed Virgin Mary. Now, I'm proud to say that little church grew into a parish, and that parish is still into existence this day. In fact, a member of that parish was Mr. John Davis, who you met earlier, a good friend of mine. Now, I don't mean to brag, but truth is true. If you went out to all those little Italian families and you said, well, what's this little boy's name? Or what's this little boy's name? More often than not, the first name would be Hayden rather than Tony or Mario like other Italian families. Now, every November, I'd lead a group just like this one here to this very spot to ask blessing for those who had gone before us. This is a common occurrence on All Saints' Day or All Souls' Day. Now, this place became so dear to me that I erected this beautiful Irish Celtic cross that you see there. Now, the cross part stands for Jesus, you know that. But the circle around it, that is symbolic of his everlasting love. Think of it as a wee bit of Ireland here in Natchez, just like many of the priests and bishops buried before you. Now, my last trip here was in November of 1921, where they laid me to rest in my grave there after dying from a stroke. From what I understand, my funeral was a grand event. They had many dignitaries there speaking on my behalf, many bishops praising my name. But they said that the most heartbreaking thing was listening to the wails and sobs of those little orphans, knowing that their friend had gone from them. Now, good people, if you wish to honor me, when you get back to your communities, reach out to some of those forgotten ones, the way that I tried to do, the way that Jesus did do. Thank you, and good night.